We're going to the Clocher Valley in County Tyrone, and in a way, a similar sort of idea, a collection of remarkable photographs from the 1920s and 30s. Now, the photographer this time was an Englishwoman, Rose Shaw, who focused on ordinary people's rural lives, capturing images, that might have been lost forever. And the Clocher Community Village Forum hosted an exhibition of these iconic photographs in Corrick House Hotel, and it was a chance for local people to view and possibly identify family members from years and years ago. People like Josephine Traynor.
This beautiful photograph from the Rose Shaw collection is of my grandfather, Francis McGovern. He was born in 1894. So in the photograph here, he's a young man. He's playing the accordion. So he's looking at his sister, Minnie, as she was called. She was christened Mary Ellen or Maria Ellen, but she was known as Minnie. So she is dancing on the half door. So they sure knew how to party.
So actually the door is on the floor outside the cottage. Obviously, you can see the hills in the background. She's in a pinafore dress and she's barefooted on this board.
In the background, you're looking across at the Slieve Bay Hills, which runs across close to Verdross, where Rose Shaw would have been the governess. And so she sought out her subjects from across the families that lived along that mountain range. And it's a really special photograph for me because it tells my family history. It tells about the love of music and dance, which actually I love as well, the dancing.
And there's another photograph next to you. There's a woman. Are they spinning?
They're spinning, yes.
And are these family as well, Josephine?
No, they're not family, but this lady is very well known in the area. That's Anne Holland and her daughter. Anne Holland's husband was a gamekeeper for Lord Russmore. Lord Russmore based in Monaghan, but had a hunting lodge on the Monaghan side of the Slieve Bay mountain range. Anne Holland's husband was the gamekeeper, but when he died, Anne became one of the very few, or indeed I would say maybe the only lady gamekeeper on the mountain. So that is Anne's claim to fame, and that's her daughter who's spinning, and Anne is sitting in the background.
Look at the bare feet, both of them, and they're outside this whitewashed thatched cottage. That's just another moment captured, but actually there's a whole history in it.
I love the story behind each of these photographs, and these women are just in their natural setting, and Rose Shaw captured these women at their best in their everyday lives.
Sean McCaughey, Rose Shaw, this is my first introduction to her. Can you tell me a little bit about her?
We can't unearth a photograph of Rose Shaw, but a bit of the background is that she was a governess in the local Verdross estate house to the Gladstone's children, and we believe maybe she came back a few years later then as an amateur photographer to take photographs of the people that lived in the Ballymacyan, Verdross area, up in the mountain areas we know it locally. And it's just significant. A lot of our photographs are of women and in their bare feet, in their natural environment, be it on the land, working the land, at turf, going to school, spinning.
That one over there, a girl with a creel over her shoulder, the weight that would have been, and she's got a dog with her, and again, they're all barefooted. Do you know how she came to take these photographs? What do we know about her return to this landscape and her capturing of these images?
Well, the stories that maybe she took somebody young with her to carry. You can imagine a big heavy camera with the equipment that needed to be carried, where there was no roads, very little transport. But then even several of these photographs are taken inside the dwellings, where you can imagine really small windows, poor lighting, but they've come up so bright in the black and white, and you can see all the artefacts of the house.
She came back after she had retired from being a governess, and she came back, do you think, with in mind capturing what life was like here, particularly for women out on these wee farms about the place?
Yeah, well, she produced a book and it's called My Irish Friends. So obviously she built up a rapport with the local people. And whenever she come back to Fidross house where she was staying, that's where she developed the photographs in a small room where the silverware would have been kept.
She wanted to capture these years of time, and the hardship actually comes through them as well. Look, the wee kids walking down the most terrible muddy stony lane away over the hills to a wee primary school. And John McElroy, you're pointing at this one with the school children.
This is Curlahan School, which I would have started out in. I was there for about a year until it closed, and it just shows the 4 children, we believe, of the Turney family walking to school in the morning, bare feet, of course. And many of the photographs, including this one here of the 2 women cutting the coats, was taken in the townland of Curlahan. And around that time, the number of residents on the census of 1911 was 45. If you roll forward 100 years, that number of residents had reduced to 1, and that was myself. Thankfully, with a few more new houses in it, it's started to increase, but it'll never go back at 45.
Is that the wee school there at the side?
That is the school, yeah. It still stands. It's now a dwelling house. It's still there, pretty much in the same shape as it is there. Yeah.
What happened to Rose Shaw once she left this place? Do we know, John?
Rose moved back to Bath, which was her birthplace, and she was a very, very successful costume designer. So she died at 90 years of age in 1949 and is buried in Bath.
Why is it important for them to be exhibited here, not just in the Cork Hotel, but in this landscape, in this place?
Well, the photographs are taken in around Clogher, but whenever we were trying to gather information or do some homework on it, we discovered that the photographs were claimed by a different Clogher in Donegal or Mayo, but because we can identify the landmarks such as Brackenridge's Folly on some of the photographs, we can identify some of the houses. We know that it was this Clogher the photographs was taken on, but they are ours. We're claiming them. We're looking more information, the stories to tell behind all the photographs. We want to claim that back, tell ourselves, and the history that comes with it, and the story of Rose Shaw and the history and legacy she's left behind that she probably never knew she was ever going to leave behind.
You're right, Sean. We're bringing the Rose Shaw collection back home.
Lovely. It's super photographs, they really are. And that exhibition will move to the new library in 5 Mile Town, where it'll be there from the 11th to the 22nd of March. And as they say, they're very keen to hear any stories from people listening who might recognise something in the photographs. And the contact for that is ancientclans.org.